Are you exhausted, irritable, feeling more exhausted and tired and sluggish than ever before? You're not alone. And today we're going to talk about burnout.
Hello, this is Janelle Bruland and Graham Yahtzee, and welcome to the Intentional Leadership Podcast. You know, we're facing a lot of challenges today as a business leader, but one of the biggest challenges that business leaders are facing may be a surprise to you. When we did a poll of several entrepreneurs this year and asked them, what is your top challenge? They said it was burnout, not just for them, but burnout within their organizations. So on today's podcast, we felt this topic is so important right now to get a handle on that we are going to talk about it today and give you some solutions for it. So here's the 3 points that we're going to cover today.
First, why is burnout on the rise? And why is it more dangerous than ever before?
Secondly, we obviously need to recognize the signs of burnout. How can you recognize it so that you can prevent it?
Right. And then last, what are the steps to prevent it?
Yes, and how do you take charge in your organization?
Absolutely. So first, the evidence shows depression's on the rise.
Definitely. Yes, as different surveys, there was a survey recently done by the Mental Health Association where they compared tests of anxiety and depression to just 1 year ago, and it's on the rise. It's actually 300% above last year. And I think we found in our own organization, and as we talk to the entrepreneurs that we coach, it has just become a problem in our organizations and something we really need to be looking for.
Right.
So, what are some of the reasons why it's been on the rise? What are some things that we've been seeing as we've been talking to business leaders?
I think the biggest one for many people is there are no boundaries. Before we get up, we get dressed, we eat, kids go off to school, we go to work, we come home, we do it all over again. Now, we get up, we eat, we walk upstairs, go down the hall, whatever it is, and we go to work, and then the kids ask us to help with questions, whatever it is. But there's no boundaries, there's no way, we're not going anywhere and separating ourselves.
Yes, yeah, the lines between work and home are blurred, and we now know a number of business professionals who have young kids at home. They're having to do online school, plus they're having to do their work day, and the constant interruptions with that and just those lines really being blurred make it really hard to separate.
I'm
work
glad
at home.
I don't have to do math. Math is hard enough. But.
Yeah, that's true. Another issue is why burnout is on the rise is I know people are working more hours than ever before, and I know we found ourselves as we started in this situation that you just want to get your hands around the problem, you want to figure out what's going on, you want to strategize about how to make it better, and inevitably you're putting in more hours.
Right, we want to fix it.
Yes.
We're going to fix the problem, and we couldn't.
Right.
It was bigger, strong, it was just bigger than us. So,
Yes. Yeah.
Hunkering down didn't work. And then the other thing, technology. You know, it's our friend, and then, it used to be a joke, oh, the computer's being slow, or this or that, but now it's my phone, my iPad, my tablet, my computer, my 3 screens, whatever it is.
Right.
And it's just constant.
And so many people on technology that oftentimes it feels like it's not working properly.
Right.
I know I had an important call come in the other day at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, I got the voicemail at noon, so that didn't help a lot. So, there was some frustration there. And then the
Right.
other piece of technology, of course, is I think people are just more addicted to it than ever.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely.
Really hard to shut that off. So definitely is difficult. Well, number 2, what are the signs of burnout? How can we recognize this for ourselves and for our team? What are some of the things that we've been seeing and hearing from our own clients?
Right. Well, the first one's short, irritable. We're just we're not putting up, we're not accepting confrontation or conflict very well. It's, oh, you disagree with me, boom, and you explode.
Right.
It's just
lack of patience.
lack of patience.
Yeah, definitely. According to the World Health Organization, there's actually 3 main symptoms of burnout. Feelings of energy depletion or exhaustion, and you mentioned that at the beginning, Graham, and I think all of us are tired. You're just feeling more tired. You talk to people and I'm just not tired on the outside, I'm tired on the inside.
Right.
The second one is increased mental distance from one's job, so that you're just kind of feeling this separated. You're not feeling that, passion, excitement about it.
Well, it's hard when you're going through a computer screen, through a speaker to a computer screen. You're distanced just because of that.
Right.
And then there's no water cooled talk. There's no hanging out in the halls saying, "Hey, how was golf on Saturday?" or "How are the kids?" It's just all about work, and there's a screen in front of you,
right.
even if it is Zoom or whatever
yes,
whatever it is. So
for sure, and isolation just compounds the issue.
Right.
Just the isolation that we're getting. We're social creatures, and we need to be together, and so that isolation and kind of being okay with that, it shows a sign that we're leading to it. And then the third one is just, and very obviously, reduced professional productivity. So, is your productivity down? Do you feel like you just can't get the usual amount of work done? Are you seeing this in your team, that there's just this sluggishness? There's the inability to meet deadlines and things that have happened, more than ever before. So those are some signs to be watching out.
Right. People started off and seemed like they're more productive, or felt like they were, and then now we're in the sluggish, we're not getting things done phase.
Yes.
And it's proven that people really need to go to work to get the work done.
Right.
And so many offices, some that we talked to yesterday, are opening up and allowing them to go to work so that they can get more work done. And they're raising the bar to do that, so that it's time to move on a little bit.
Right. So in addition to those three things that we talked about, there's a number of signs that you see. You talked about just getting a little bit short with people, that you get frustrated more quickly.
Right.
Is another
The
thing for
fuse
sure that you see.
Fuse is short.
Yes.
And so and something that was mentioned yesterday along with the short fuse is the high performers are kind of dragging up or they're not even dragging them up, they're just doing the work for the ones that are not performing.
Right.
And so that's leading to burnout too. If you're doing your own job and then you feel this obligation of, well, it's just easier, I know they're not doing well, whatever it is, I'm just going to do their job too.
Right.
And you're just carrying a bigger burden.
Right. Yeah. And I think that can become very easy to do, especially for high performers. High performers are filling in the gaps, and maybe you're one of them. As we talked to our business leaders yesterday, our entrepreneurs, a lot of them talked about maybe they had a problem with delegating before. They really have a problem with delegating now because they're showing empathy. They feel that they're showing empathy and care, but somebody else isn't getting the job done, so they're just stepping in and just continue to take on more and more and more.
Right. Yeah.
So if you find yourself,
it says not that.
I do talk about that in my book. That's a success slide, doing more and more. And thinking that that's going to work, when really that's taking yourself on a way to career burnout for sure. What are some of the other things, some of the other signs that our business leaders, we talked about this yesterday, and there's a lot of people facing this.
Right. The weekend was one that really kind of was an aha for me.
Tell us about that.
So during the week, or on the weekend, everybody goes home. In this case, they would go home for the weekend, they'd watch the news, they'd talk to friends, and they'd just go spiraling down quickly in those 48 hours.
Yeah.
Monday morning, they go to work and they're angry, irritable, and they're not getting any work done. And then they have to build each other up. And on Tuesday, it was almost okay. By Wednesday, everybody's on full throttle, doing well again. And on Friday, it was, we're heading into the weekend. We're not sure who's going to show up. And then, boom, Groundhog Day. Monday again, they're irritable, short-tempered. And so that was kind of an interesting one for me to realize that there's this weekly cycle right now of build people up, crash over the weekend because they're watching negative news or doing negative activities, whatever it is.
Yes.
And then they have to build that person up during the week. That was a surprise for me yesterday.
Right. Yeah, and makes perfect sense. And this particular company was an essential business, so all of their team members are continuing to come to work each and every week, and being social creatures, thought that was really helping getting people together, but then would lose them on the weekend again. So, well, good. Well, we talked about why burnout is on the rise, and it's certainly more dangerous than ever. And then we talked about the signs of burnout, and so that's important that we learn to recognize those signs and put our feelers out for those, not just for ourselves but for our team members. So most importantly, let's just spend some time on what steps can we take to prevent it. How can we recognize that this is going on, and now what steps can we take if this is an issue for yourself or in your organization, we want to give you some tips that you can put in place right now to be able to make it work better.
Right. Recognize, re-energize, rejuvenate. We need to first recognize, but now what can we do to regenerate, re-energize?
Yes.
So the first one many people do is exercise. That's a big one where you can just kind of burn off steam. And now we need to burn off more steam than ever. And we're sitting more, watching more screens, looking at whatever. So I think that's an important one.
Right. It's interesting when you think about burnout and being tired. We're getting tired because we are less active. We're spending a lot more time on our computer screens, a lot less time being out and social, getting out and exercising. That certainly helps.
Right.
And I would back us up a bit and just say, as the business leader, the first step is that you've got to look in the mirror. The first step is you've got to look in the mirror, because I think you've got to recognize where you're at, what symptoms you are displaying for burnout, if you're having any of these symptoms that we talked about, and then be able to create the solutions for it. So is this an issue for you right now? Are you taking on more and more? Are you working more hours than ever before? Are you seeing the lines really being blurred between work and home? And I know we started out this way where it got easy just to keep at our computer.
Right.
You would just continue to put the hours in. You'd have dinner, and then you'd go back and put more hours in, and just not the way to do
Right.
it. So exercise, a great thing to do. What else can we do?
Well, something you're really good at is journaling. I'm not
Yes.
so good at it, but you are.
Yeah, it helps. It really does. And it's part of my morning success ritual is I take some time for myself. So for me, that includes journaling. And I think it's really whatever energizes you and puts you in the right space, sets you up for success for your day. So I take time every single morning for a success ritual, and I spend time in meditation. Meditation is very helpful
Another one.
with the burnout, and then I take some time reading something inspirational. Journaling is part of that too, and that just helps me get started off to having a good day.
Well,
Day that we need
and
to have.
all of those go towards just slowing down. Slow down to meditate, slow down to read something positive, slow down for yourself, to just take time for yourself, slow down. And so, I think that's just kind of all encompassing, just spending that hour or something in the morning all by yourself doing what you need.
Right.
So that's good.
Yeah, so the big one, again, looking at yourself in the mirror and what is it that's not working for you? Where are you seeing these signs of burnout? And what is it that you need? You know what fuels you. Make sure that you understand what fuels you and that you put those things into practice.
Right.
Another thing that's really important for the business leader is to get support. And when we were talking about this at our Leadership Mastermind group yesterday, we just talked about the fact of getting together as a group of entrepreneurs, as a group of leaders, and being able to support and encourage each other is more important now than ever before. And so as a business leader, you need to get support. Get support from a peer, a mentor, a trusted advisory group. Get counseling, and that can be really helpful. If you are experiencing anxiety and depression, make sure that you're getting the help. There's resources out there for you.
Right.
So get support.
Absolutely. Yeah. The community, it's so important. We're missing that right now. So something that we should talk about is how to prioritize too. Yesterday they were talking about people just kind of owning others' calendars.
Oh, right.
And, I have a 10 o'clock. Well, I don't care. Mine's more important. So I'm going to put my 10 o'clock appointment on top of your 10 o'clock appointment on top of, the other one. Whoa.
Right.
Time out. So you need to take time to own and prioritize for yourself.
Sure.
Own your own time.
Sure. Own your calendar and not be owning others' calendars. I know that, we've talked about even, with some of our team members, is really deciding when we're all working and when we're all off and making sure we're respecting those times. I mean, sometimes there'll be a project where it's just going to take longer. We're all hands on deck and we're putting in the long hours to get a project done. And so we may be having those evening hours when we're reaching out to each other, but then we say, all right, now we're taking this day off, or, talking to the people that we work with and just saying, we're giving you this space to have this time off, and then really respecting that. really respecting that.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't send that text Saturday night.
Yes, we talked about that before. Yeah, don't send it. That if it can wait until Monday, until the next business
But then I
day.
forget to send it.
Well, that
Come on.
can happen.
Oh, well.
There's ways to be able to do that.
All
for
right.
sure.
What else?
One of our clients yesterday, when we were talking about solutions for how to prevent burnout, is they actually are able in their business to set up a mental health day. So they actually picked certain days where they decided as a team, this is going to be a mental health day. And meaning this is a non-work day that we're not going to be scheduling meetings and things like that.
Right.
And it seems to be working well.
And they can do whatever during that mental health day. It could be take time off and spend it with family, or it could be take time to catch up on something.
Sure.
And it was up to the employee
Right.
to make the decision for themselves. At first, they were hoping everybody would just get out of the office and go.
Yes.
But it didn't happen that way, and so they had to kind of reevaluate how that looked. But so giving that freedom to just own their calendar for the day.
Yeah.
And the other one that goes along with that is the accountant, the CPAs, they had the longest tax season in history.
It just kept going on. Yes. Yeah.
With a 7-month tax season. So instead of cramming it down in the first quarter of the year, they didn't have anything. And now we're closing in on the year. So they shut down for 2 weeks and said, everybody's going home. We're not going to work. We'll have somebody answer the phones. That's it.
Yeah, that's great.
Because there was no other way of separating or getting people away and having some time just to kind of re-energize.
Yeah, and I want to piggyback on what you said because I don't want it to get missed. I think it's so important is when we talked about the mental health day and giving people freedom to spend it how they want. And one of our entrepreneurs yesterday said that they put this day in place so that people would take the day off.
Right.
And then they found that people were using it for a catch-up day and they were frustrated by that, and then realized that for some people, just the act of being able to catch up and get organized a bit really just brought them relief. And so not giving them freedom to decide how they wanted to spend their day. So I think that was really good.
Yeah.
Another one that we have been talking about is delegating. And we mentioned already that if people have a hard time delegating right now, it's even worse. So that's something you can do to help prevent burnout, is if you find that you have just overloaded yourself, or you see team members that have overloaded themselves, is that we just have to commit to delegating. We have to be able to delegate to people that we trust, but it is very important to be able to look at what are some of the things that I'm doing that someone else on my team can take on, or maybe I can outsource this and learn to delegate.
Right.
Yeah, that can make a difference.
And then we need to take care of ourselves.
Yes, the self-care piece, for
Right.
sure.
So I know that we talked about exercise, but it's also what you put in your body, your nutrition. So, quitting at the end of the day and having a beer and ice cream every single day is probably not healthy.
No, that's true.
4 times a week's fine, but 7 days a week's probably not okay.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and I think that it's okay. We talked about this on other podcasts this year, is that self-care in this time of challenge that just continues to go on and on, it's even more important. And to give ourselves permission to take that extra self-care, to do those things that rejuvenate us, to take the time for more sleep, to really focus on that exercise that you mentioned, the eating
massage.
habits and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, massage. I like that too.
Yeah. So sleep, food,
Yes.
exercise, taking that time in the morning for ourselves to just meditate, read, fuel yourself to get ready for the day. What else?
Right. Well, we talked a lot about things that we can do. Now let's shift a little bit to really include our team. And let's talk about some of the ideas that we came up with as an entrepreneurial group talking about this yesterday. Is gather a team together. We had some people that put together a resource team just to deal with this issue. So if you have a large enough team, actually set a committee aside that talks about, every organization's a little bit different. How can you do some things in your organization to really raise the awareness that career burnout is real, it's on the rise, and you want to do some things to prevent it? I mean, for some of us right now, we're on a runaway train, and we want to make sure we can stop it before it crashes and burns. So looking at what you can do with your team. If you have a smaller team, getting your team together and just talking about it, talking about this issue, and just being transparent about where you may be dealing with this as a leader, and sharing your struggles that you may be having with it, and allowing them to share theirs, talking about your feelings, that's okay. And
being vulnerable.
Yeah. And that's not always easy for a leader. You don't have to have all the answers. Certainly you want to show up in a consistent way for your team, but let's face it, you're human, right? So we have to be able to be open and vulnerable about challenges that we're having as well.
I think having that creating, because it's not, you have to fabricate it now, the water cooler, the conversations,
Yes.
And one of the things was coming up with a question of the week, where it is, I learned this 25 years ago, and if I share this with you, you will gain that 25 years of experience. So once a week, sit down with the question of, if I share this with somebody else, they will gain that experience.
I like that.
And so then there's that opportunity to engage and learn and kind of fill in, and it builds that rapport too. So, those are some of the things you might learn. Hey, I have a question. That doesn't happen as often right now.
That's true.
So if you can create the question and fabricate it, then you can do that as well. So that's building your team up, teaching them, engaging them, keeping them engaged.
Right. And I think realizing too that there may be some people in your organization who say that, I love this working from home. I like to work alone, and they're feeding on that. But realizing that all of us are social creatures. So whether you're naturally an extrovert or you're an introvert, we all need that sense of community in some way. So we would encourage you to push that connectedness, and what are the ways that you can bond as a team. And we came up with a lot of ideas yesterday. We had some people that created an outdoor golf tournament. There were people that didn't even know how to golf. They made it a really fun scramble, and a golf course was excited to be able to help out and make it an inexpensive option and something they could do together, and had such a great turnout for that. People have done virtual wine tastings and book clubs, and our company did a virtual bingo. So lots of things that you can do to
you play
do a little bit
online without cheating. I don't know.
I don't know. That's true, but we have to get creative this year. But we can do it, and there's a lot of things that we can do to help prevent this career burnout and take care of ourselves and each other.
Yeah, and another one that came up was, oftentimes we're starting these calls and it's just boom, we're getting into work. Just stop and say, hey, how's everybody doing? Let's have a check-in. How are the kids? How's the dog? Did you get outside? Are you exercising? Just ask, general questions, and talk for 5 minutes about how they're doing.
Yes.
And see how they're doing. Maybe they got a new car, or maybe they got a new rabbit. Who knows? But find out. Make sure that they feel part of the team.
I think that's great, and I think they're going to know you care when you take the time to check in with them. And right now, we just want to make sure we're on top of that, because there's a lot of people that may keep things to themselves, but really more than anything, they would like it if you checked in and you showed that you are a caring and empathetic leader, and you checked in with them just to ask how they're doing. One of our business leaders talked about that. He was doing a weekly check-in that was completely non-business, and just checking in personally. How are you doing? How is the family? And I love that. And I think we can certainly learn from that. And share your ideas too, you guys. We're talking about some things that we've done in our own companies, things that we've heard from our clients that are working to be able to really improve this connectedness to make sure that we're preventing career burnout. But share your ideas with us too.
Right, absolutely. So let's review.
So we talked about 3 key points today about burnout. The leader's challenge today is burnout. And we talked about why it's on the rise and why we need to be aware of it, because it's dangerous. Number 2, the signs of burnout and how to recognize them. And then we provided you a number of steps that you can take to prevent burnout in your organization.
Good. And then the last was, you said it, the steps to take to prevent burnout. So
yes, so important.
Yeah.
Well, we've included in this podcast a leader's guide that you can download for free and be able to use to ask yourself some questions about this, to be able to identify where you are and how you can make changes to take control for yourself or in your organization. So do it for yourself, do it with your team, and you can download that now. And it can be at JanelleBruland /podcast. So go ahead and download that, share that with your team. And thank you so much for taking the time to listen today. Of course, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to us. And if you like what you heard, please share this podcast with others, subscribe, give us a great rating so that we can continue to provide this free content for you all to enjoy.
Great. And go out, get some exercise, eat the right foods, and have some fun.
Absolutely. Remember, when you grow as a leader, your team will grow and your company will grow. You can transform your leadership, crush your goals, and love your life.